Getting a plainly wrapped package in the mail wasn't all that surprising. It was the holidays after all. What was inside was another matter. When federal appeals judge Robert Vance opened a small brown parcel in the kitchen of his suburban Alabama home on the 16th of December 1989, it exploded, unaliving him instantly and seriously injuring his wife. 2 days later, virtually the same scenario happened again. This time, the victim was Atlanta attorney Robert Robertson. It wasn't over. 2 more bombs mysteriously appeared. The third sent to the federal courthouse in Atlanta was intercepted. A fourth was recovered after being mailed to the Jacksonville office of the NAACP. ATF personnel defused the bomb and Florida police bomb experts the other. The unalivings and serial bombings stunned the nation. Who'd be spiteful enough to send mail bombs during the holidays? Born in Talladega, Alabama, Robert Smith Vance was the youngest of 4 children born to parents Harold Taylor Vance Sr. and May Vance. He grew up in Birmingham, Alabama and graduated from Woodlawn High School, when he received a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Alabama in 1950 and a Juris Doctor from University of Alabama School of Law in 1952. While at Alabama, Vance was purportedly the head of a secret yet powerful inner fraternity organization known as the Machine, and was elected as president of the Student Government Association. After law school, Vance entered military duty as an attorney in the United States Army Judge Advocate General Corps, and was stationed at the Pentagon. One of his first assignments was to serve on the team of lawyers defending the Army in hearings against charges brought by Senator Joseph McCarthy. After his military service, Vance received a Master of Laws from George Washington University Law School in 1955 and served as a law clerk to Alabama Supreme Court Justice James Mayfield. He then served a 1-year stint as an attorney for the United States Labor Department before entering private practice in Birmingham from 1956 to 1977. As a lawyer, Vance quickly sided with the developing civil rights movement, as shown by his participation as an intervening plaintiff in litigation that ultimately resulted in the United States Supreme Court decision in Reynolds v. Sims, which decided that state legislative districts had to be roughly equal in population. Vance was also the first notable Birmingham attorney to reject the unwritten gentleman's agreement by which all black members of a jury pool were eliminated from serving as jurors in civil cases. Vance served as a chairman of the Alabama Democratic Party from 1966 to 1977. His election as chairman capped a struggle within the Alabama Democratic Party, as a group loyal to the National Party wrestled control from the state's rights faction loyal to Governor George Wallace. Throughout Vance's tenure as a chairman, Wallace was never able to capture the state party organisation, despite continual struggles between the two factions. The most well-known example of this fight came during the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, as competing slates of delegates vied for credentials to be seated. Vance's group of party loyalists overcame challenges from both Wallace's group and a predominantly black slate headed by Dr. John Cashin of Huntsville, Alabama. Vance was also a lecturer at the Cumberland School of Law at Samford University from 1967 to 1969. He served for a number of years in the United States Army Reserve, retiring as a lieutenant colonel. Robert Edward Robinson was born in Savannah, Georgia on the 30th of July 1947 to Robert and Edna Robinson. Family members called him Edward to distinguish him from his father, but people outside his family knew him as Robbie. His parents had met while attending the Georgia Industrial College, now Savannah State University in Savannah, and they had 2 daughters before Robbie was born. Robbie's father was a Pullman porter and an active member of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, an African-American-led labor union. Robinson was noted for his intelligence at a young age, enrolling in kindergarten at the age of 4 and entering the first grade in 1952 at the age of 5. On 3rd of September 1963, Robinson was a part of a group of a dozen black students who enrolled in Savannah High School, a formerly all-white school, during the integration of the city's school system. He graduated the following year. According to an article about Robinson in the New York Times, one of his earliest involvements in the civil rights movement came in 1963, when he participated in an NAACP-organised wade-in event to desecrate the beach at Tybee Island near Savannah. The event, a part of the Savannah protest movement, was led by local civil rights leader W. W. Law. and while the demonstrators were arrested, all charges against them were later dropped and the beach was desegregated. After graduating from high school, Robinson enlisted in the United States Air Force, where he was a military policeman. Robinson left the Air Force in the summer of 1968 and enrolled for classes at Savannah State University, where he studied accounting. During his time at Savannah State, Robinson married Vivian Cook, a friend of his sister's who had attended Payne College at Augusta, Georgia. He graduated magna cum laude from Savannah State in 1971, attaining his undergraduate degree in 3 years instead of the traditional 4. Following this, Robinson received a scholarship to attend the Lumpkin Law School at the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia. Robinson was one of the first 3 African Americans to enroll at this law school. He graduated in the summer of 1974. Robinson then worked for the Georgia Legal Services Program in Atlanta, and he would remain with the program for several years after passing the bar examination. In 1976, Robinson became an intern for a law firm in Savannah, becoming an associate attorney at the firm later that year. In 1977, the firm split up and Robinson became a partner in another firm. He would later go into solo practice in 1981, opening his offices at Albicorn Street in the Savannah Victorian Historic District. Starting around this time, Robinson also served as the legal counsel for the local NAACP chapter. In 1980, following the birth of their second child, Vivian and Robbie separated. The same year, Robinson made his first step into politics, where he was appointed chairman of the Savannah Transportation Authority. In 1982, Robinson announced his candidacy as member of the city council. Robinson proceeded to campaign against Joe Bell, a local banker who had been chosen by the White Power Brokes of Savannah to represent that city's district. And while Bell's campaign finances severely eclipsed Robinson's, Robinson would go on to easily defeat Bell and win a spot on the city council. Robinson was one of 3 African Americans on the 9-member council. While on the council, Robinson earned reputation as a district ombudsman, and he worked with the Savannah Mayor John Rousakis on establishing more recreational areas in his district. Robinson was re-elected to the city council in 1986 with 82% of the vote. Walter Leroy Moody Jr. was born on the 24th of March 1935 in Rex, Georgia, and grew up in Fort Valley. He grew up as the oldest of 3 children and spent much of his time tinkering with machinery. He graduated from Peach County High School in 1953 and held a multitude of military positions in the years to 1961. Following his departure from the military, Moody resumed his education. Taking classes at a small college, he considered becoming a neurosurgeon, but he did not make good grades. He was later able to take some law school classes. After a psychiatric evaluation in 1967, he was characterized as harboring violent thoughts, and a doctor evaluating him, Thomas M. Hall, testified that he was constantly afraid that Moody might get into a situation that would end up in some sort of destruction towards society. On the 7th of May 1972, Moody's wife, Hazel, opened a package she found in her kitchen. It turned out to be a homemade pipe bomb that exploded in front of her, tearing up her right hand, thigh and shoulder and sending scrap metal into her eye. She required 6 operations to deal with all of her injuries. Moody was tried for making the bomb with intent to send it to an auto dealer who had repossessed Moody's car, and on the 19th of October 1972, he was found not guilty of making the bomb, but was convicted of possessing it and sentenced to 5 years at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. Moody and his wife divorced shortly after his conviction. On the 16th of December 1989, Vance was assassinated at his home in Mountain Brook, Alabama, where he opened a package containing a mail bomb. Vance was killed instantly and his wife Helen was seriously injured. On the 18th of December 1989, a mail bomb exploded in Robinson's law offices. The explosion caused fatal injuries to Robinson, who passed away later that day at Memorial Hospital in Savannah. After intensive investigation, the federal government charged Walter Leroy Moody Jr. with the unalivings of Judge Vance and Robert E. Robinson. Walter Moody targeted individuals associated with the civil rights movement. He had targeted Robinson due to his work with the NAACP. Moody was eventually charged with Vance's murder and sentenced to death, which was carried out on the 19th of April 2018. Robinson's funeral was held 4 days after his death during a rare snowstorm in Savannah. In 1990, Congress passed H.R. 3691, a bill sponsored by Ben Erdrich, renaming the federal building and courthouse in Birmingham, Alabama as the Robert S. Vance Federal Building. and United States Courthouse in memory of Vance. Also in tribute to Judge Vance's service, the Atlanta chapter of the Federal Bar Association hosts an annual Robert S. Vance Forum on the Bill of Rights. Vance's older son, Robert Vance Jr., serves as a state circuit court judge in Birmingham, having first been appointed to that position in November 2002 and elected in 2004. He was the Democratic candidate for Chief Justice of Alabama Supreme Court in the 2012 election, losing to Republican Roy Moore. Vance's daughter-in-law, Joyce White Vance, was the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama from the 27th of August 2009 until the 20th of January 2017. Vance's widow, Helen, born on the 7th of February 1934, passed away on the 18th of October 2010 at the age of 76. In Robinson's memory, a parking garage, public park, and apartment building in Savannah were named after him. Additionally, a scholarship in his memory exists to aid students entering into either Payne College, Savannah State University, or the University of Georgia. In 2023, a historical marker was erected in honour of Robinson in Savannah at Cann Park, near the intersection of Bullock Street and West 46th Street, within the bounds of Robinson's former city district. After an order was entered directing the recusal of all circuit and district judges within the 11th Circuit, Moody's trial for unaliving and related crimes was presided over by Judge Edward Devitt of the District of Minnesota. After a successful prosecution by Special Prosecutors Louis Feach and Howard Shapiro, Moody was convicted on all counts. He was sentenced to 7 federal life terms. An Alabama state court jury later convicted Moody of Judge Vance's unaliving. Moody was sentenced to unalive by electrocution in 1997. He remained on death row at the Holman Correctional Facility near Atmore, Alabama from the 13th of February 1997. Moody was alleged to have attempted to run a Ponzi scheme from death row around 2015. According to an anonymous, elderly Florida woman who claimed to have received a letter with a Holman Correctional Facility return address from Moody, although Moody was not known to have faced any disciplinary action as a result. On the 23rd of February 2018, an execution date for Moody was set as the 19th of April 2018. He was subsequently executed on this day at 8:42 p.m. Aged 83 years and 26 days at execution, he was the oldest inmate executed in the United States in the post-Furman era, surpassing the previous record set by the execution of John B. Nixon Sr., who was executed in Mississippi in December 2005 at the age of 77 years, 8 months and 13 days. He declined to make a final statement and maintained his innocence and was unable to give his final words before his grueling near half-an-hour-long unaliving. His last meal was Philly cheesesteaks, Dr. Pepper, and M&Ms.